All right. This is officially the last episode of this season of Long Story Short. Don't worry. We've renewed ourselves.
Welcome to Long Story Short.
Definitely been an interesting, great season. We've had a lot of really good guests.
It's been fun.
I say let's go back to the beginning and kind of like touch upon our favorite thing that we learned from each of our guests.
Oh, I like that. Okay, so we'll start with the first episode,
Giancarlo, yeah.
That was the very first episode we ever recorded.
Yeah, it was the first one we recorded, first one we filmed. I would say
we
honestly,
also started, like, we just started.
We really did. Fun fact, before we get into, the takeaways from that episode, there's a massive table that you normally see sitting in between us. And I don't know who selected a matte black table for this entire space, but what I will say is you can see everything on that table.
You can.
So I was stress cleaning it 5 minutes before
Video
Giancarlo
clip entered
came.
now.
Yeah, we're going to have to post it. It's
You
going to
will.
dig it
I'll
out
put
of
it
the
in here.
archives. But I was stress cleaning the table. I was like, this is not going to go well. And then it ended up working out great. Now, Giancarlo's episode. For me personally, I think the real takeaway from that was the fact that, like, very rarely are things going to go well or your way in the way that you plan them. And that's kind of been a common thread through, I think, all the episodes. But with his particularly, he really kind of learned to pivot very quickly. I mean, like, when COVID kind of hit and his entire company lost their entire line of work, like, if you didn't figure out a way to take your core competencies and reuse them in a different way, they would have gone bankrupt. And now here they are 5 years later as the fifth fastest growing company in Canada.
That's insane. I think for me, hearing the story about his cold calling and how he had this binder where they would just go through every day, and he was sitting there watching the news as he saw the announcement that provincial government is providing funding to schools to improve their air quality, and that's the moment that everything changed for them. I think the moment everything changes is so interesting.
And I think inherent in that story too is that, like, when you're a founder, or really when you're in any type of industry, whether it's business, entertainment, like, you might be told told no so many times.
As we have been
with
guests on this podcast.
Hasn't always been an easy ride. But point being is that, like, you can't doubt yourself when you're told no. Like, in that case, it was a matter of circumstance that had nothing to do with him and the company. It was the fact that the school board and the provinces were not prioritizing indoor air quality. And the second they were, Giancarlo and his team were the first people that they called.
Yeah.
So it says a lot to, like, if you're ever told no, it's not necessarily anything that you're doing or not doing. It might just be a matter of circumstances that are completely outside of your control.
I think also just them starting this company out of undergrad,
I know.
younger than we were, is insane to me. It also
about-
reminds you that, no matter how young you are, you can do it.
I also think about the fact that, like, when we were graduating from undergrad, were either one of us in a position to start a company? I
Absolutely
don't think so.
not.
I don't
Yeah,
think so,
absolutely not. I was just
personally.
hoping, praying, believing I get into law school at that point.
Facts. Hoping, praying, believing that we were going to get into law school, which we did successfully.
And I think that's a perfect transition to our second guest, who was a lawyer,
Mr. Aaron Baines.
Mr. Aaron Baines.
I think his episode really showed the value of networking and using your network. I mean, if it wasn't for the people that he had around him that saw the value in what he was doing and making sure that he got in front of the right people to be able to get him hired back as an associate, like, he never would have become the partner of his firm. And that's not to say necessarily that he wouldn't have done incredibly well somewhere else, because I mean, when you think about his work ethic and his career up until this point, he would have been successful elsewhere. But it was just about, like, knowing, okay, this is not necessarily how I thought this was going to go, but we're going to try doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to leverage my network and continue to put in hard work and hoping, praying, believing that it'll happen.
That's actually my dad's favorite episode, the Aaron Baines one.
Is it?
Because he loved the whole sentiment of just work hard.
Yeah.
He loved when Aaron was like, be there every day, show up on time, come in a suit, be prepared to put the work in, because it was kind of like, it's practical advice. Aaron basically said, whatever you want to accomplish, be willing to put the work in and you'll make it happen. And he did.
There's really no shortcut for hard work.
There's no
which, if there is, I don't think we found it yet, given what we do on a daily.
Consistency. It's just consistency and committing to the practice, whatever it is.
With him, it just, he really believed in himself and knowing that he would get where he was going one day. And it served him incredibly well when you look at everything that he accomplished throughout his career.
I can't believe he didn't take a single day off.
He did not. He's the definition of no days off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that kind of takes us into Richa, who was our third guest.
Yeah, that's my brother's favorite episode.
Oh, is it?
I didn't ask my mom. Now she's going to watch this back and say, you didn't say what my favorite episode was.
Well, maybe your mom just needs to start like voicing her opinion.
I need to know.
She just start just like yelling
she
at
just
when you
loves
come
all
in.
of them.
See, there you go. That's a good way of spinning it. She couldn't pick a favorite.
She couldn't.
The same way that Richa couldn't pick a favorite of her sauces, but
not.
different than how my parents could pick their favorite children.
Yeah. So what did your parents say about that? Did they watch the episode?
I told them ahead of time. I also told like both of my sisters. I'm like, I said it as a joke, and they both loved it. They were all like for it. They knew I was joking.
Yeah.
But yeah, my parents don't have a favorite to clear up any
this remaining is good. I have
ambiguity.
two parents. We're two, siblings. Like each person can have a favorite.
I thought you were both of your parents' favorites.
I think so.
Jessica's going to be like, that's enough. Her brother is not going to be happy about that.
We're going to lose a sponsorship. But no, you know what I liked about her episode? Mm-hmm. She's just so authentic. She's so genuine, really, and she's willing to share everything she's learned. And she said that to our guests, our viewers as well. Yeah. She was like, ask questions. I wish I asked more questions.
Yeah. And I think with her specifically, this kind of ties into the genuineness of her as a person, but how purpose driven she was behind her company. You know, when you think of like most companies that have become successful, sometimes it can be in things that, might not necessarily connect with someone's personal purpose. Like if you own, a sanitation company that collects, garbage, like
you could be passionate
about communities clean. You could. I don't think that's the motivation for most people. I don't think anyone at GFL was like, oh, that's what we're gonna do.
No, we have to get them as a guest. GFL, if you're watching this,
come on.
But
with her, like, she had the whole buy one give one model of her sauces. She had the purpose behind the sauces themselves and wanting to create them with natural ingredients that were good for you and made you feel good about what you were eating. But she had the whole purpose behind trying to support the broader community. And I think when you have a really strong guiding light and North Star, especially as a founder where you're really building everything from the ground up, it can really take you a long way. And it also helps guide everything your company does.
Absolutely. Also in the moments when you want to give up, you remember that it's bigger than yourself. It's not just for you.
There's a much broader purpose behind it, which... I think is incredible when it comes to that.
And speaking of giving up, someone who didn't give up was Michael, even when the entire fan base was like, what are you doing?
I mean, Michael was my family's favorite episode. Okay. Everybody in my family loved the Michael Copeland episode. I personally also love the Michael Copeland episode. Just because, it's such a differing perspective because he was I don't want to say our only guest that kind of was intensely in the public eye, but in terms of the sporting and entertainment industry, he was. I mean, when he told that story that you're alluding to about how they went into the off season without a general manager, without a head coach, and they were going into the draft, people really bit his head off for that. And just learning that, like, people might be telling you, no, this is not what you should be doing, or might have their own opinions. But at the end of the day, when you're in that kind of a position of leadership, being able to make a decision that you can ultimately sit with and claim as your own, good, bad, or ugly, of how it turns out.
And that's ultimately what leadership is making your own decisions and standing by them. And you're getting paid for those decisions. Yeah. But you have to believe in yourself, because I don't know, I feel like I would also be like, hey, Marco, did I make the right thing? The right decision? The media is after me. Everybody hates me. But it paid off. It paid in dividends.
It really did. It honestly did. And I think, too, with him specifically, just how many times his career pivoted. Yeah. Like, you went from law to consulting to marketing to sporting and entertainment to Woodbine. Now he owns a sport consulting company in addition to what he does at Woodbine. So just kind of knowing that your path is always going to change. And if you just follow, similar to Richard, your passions of what you want to do, you can get very far.
And be willing to change, because both Rich and Michael, both of them didn't have to give up everything they had built at that point. But they decided that this wasn't for them.
And I think the reality is, too, especially as like young people that are trying to carve their own path and in their own careers, regardless of what career it is, we get so married to an idea of what we think things need to be that a lot of times it closes us off to the possibilities of what could be. And so I think with Michael, a really strong takeaway for me, at least, was just saying, okay, you know what, like, this might not be how I thought my career was going to go. I may thought I wanted X, now I want Y. And just being open to that, I think, is really important for anybody. And it may confirm it. You may go through that career and say, this is exactly what I wanted. And you may look back later and say, okay, maybe I wanted something different, and pivoting accordingly.
One of my favorite quotes is the Oscar Wilde quote where he says, if you really want to be a governor or a grocer or something, he goes on to list a bunch of careers. Your curse is that you will become it. But in becoming so, you will forgo all the other possibilities you had for your life.
That's true. And I think, like, you know, a lot of times when we think of positions of not only leadership, but when you're choosing your own life path, there are so many different alternatives. Like I think that's something that I just went through recently, when, you know, you have lots of choices of where you can go and what you're going to do, and you're trying to pick one that you think is best for yourself. And similar to the Oscar Wilde quote, but my uncle always says, my uncle Gabe, shout out to him. Shout out. But he says all the time that, you know, you only know the road you take.
Yeah.
And so
that's so scary.
It's true, but it's also kind of like optimistic in a way, because you can't stress yourself out about the infinite possibilities of things that you could have done.
That's fair.
You'll drive yourself insane. So just kind of accepting that, like, this was the path that you chose with the best information that you had at that time. And similarly, that path is subject to change however you want it to.
Just
like,
commit
you're not
to
married
the path
to
while
it.
you're in it, though.
Exactly.
Because you can't be like in this lane but looking that way. Your car will swerve.
That's what they taught me in driving school. They're like, look where you're going, because if you don't, the car will drive in that direction.
Did you pass your first time? G1 and G2?
Yes, definitely G1 I did. G2, I'm pretty sure I did, although, fun story, I thought I failed. Because when I was driving to the drive test center to do it, I hadn't had a lot of experience with parallel parking. Little did I know, at our law school, that's like all the parking that's available is parallel parking.
I have a permit.
Okay, that's fine. I do not. So that is like the bane of my existence, and it's gotten better now. But at the time, he said, if you hit the curb during your test, like, it's an automatic fail.
Yeah.
And so I was doing my parallel parking, and I hit the curb, and it caused me to panic.
And you're hyperventilating at this point.
Right, and I'm like, you know, panic parking. If you can imagine what that looks like.
At least it's still PP, parallel parking, panic parking.
Correct. With the driving instructor next to me just kind of looking at me like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Get back to the parking lot of the drive test center after we're done. And he was like, okay, you passed. And I was like, I did. And he looked at me and he's like, well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. And I'm like, okay, Thomas, you know. But I questioned it because I was told that I was going to fail, and that's what I thought. So it was a pleasant surprise when I got back to the drive test center and I was not going to have to do my test again.
Well, I'm so happy that you did not have to rewrite it.
I promise I'm a much better driver and parker now than I was in
grade 11. You learn it.
it.
You've been commuting to school for what? A long time
Which
now.
is valid. And driving through Vaughan requires a different level of technique.
I think I drive the most in my family because I'm going to school. The side quests, there's so much going on all
You're
the time.
never in one spot.
Never.
If somebody made me bet my life on knowing where you were at any given time of any given day, I'd be dead.
I mean, at least if you know my school schedule, you'll know I'm probably in class.
Barely know that.
That's fair.
I know the classes that we have together and maybe a sprinkle of what you're doing before and after.
Actually, whenever I get asked a day in your life, I was like, I can't tell you. It changes every day.
It really does change every day.
That's what keeps me on my toes.
Sometimes she doesn't even come to class.
That's a crazy statement to do on this podcast. I listen. I meet the attendance requirements. That's all that matters.
She does.
Final long
you
shot.
got here, so
I've made
you're
it this
clearly
far.
doing something right.
Okay, speaking of doing something right, we talked about some stuff that went wrong for season 1. What are we looking forward to for season 2?
Season 2, I'm really looking forward to expanding into different industries. I mean, right now, a lot of our connections have been in both business and law, and that's, you know, we've learned so many great things that I think are transferable across industries.
Absolutely.
But I think the more that you can talk to people who have been successful in different, you know, sectors and industries, you can get a much different perspective of how they got there because the path will look very different.
Absolutely.
And so I'm excited to kind of branch out, get people that might not be in business, although we will continue with business.
And we have some guests lined up already.
We do.
I'm excited for
I
it.
am very excited for them. We have some in journalism.
Yeah.
There is one in law still, as well as, you know, I guess she took
We are
a dip.
JD MBAs. We have to.
I think she took a dip into film production as well for a second or two there.
We can't give
away too much information, but really incredible people that we have for season 2. So very much looking forward to that.
I'm excited. Listen, I love the production of it all, and I love providing you snippets into the interviews. Yeah. I love doing them. It takes a village to run any of this.
It really does. So with that all being said, long story short, we are so excited about how season 1 went, and we cannot wait for season 2 to get started. We're filming it this winter, So it'll be in your airwaves sometime by next March.
March 2026.
Could you imagine if we said 2 different months? If I'm like May. She's like,
we always share our brains out.
We do.
The party continues. We're taking a recess.
I think the party continues.
The party continues. I like that.
We renewed ourselves, as I said.
We'll see you for season 2.
See you for season 2.
All right. Bye.
Bye.